And so we bask in their light. We live to love them and we live for their love. It's the girl child. It's the International Day of the Girl Child. Good morning and welcome to the Morning Brief on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
Oh, yes. We're going all out to celebrate the girl child today. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect day start of the Morning Brief, right on Channels Television. I'm Kayode Okikiolu here in Lagos. Flurry of news coming out of the opposition People's Democratic Party this morning. Yes, we'll get to the International Day of the Girl Child.
Indeed.
Eventually. But let's tell you that there's a lot going on right now within the People's Democratic Party and arising from the meeting of the National Working Committee. Lots of decisions have been made about the leadership of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. And this meeting came up with those decisions affecting the national acting chairman of the PDP, the national secretary, the publicity secretary, even the legal advisor of the People's Democratic Party. So what's the story about? Well, let's tell you that the 593rd meeting of the National Working Committee of the People's Democratic Party, on the one hand, has suspended the national acting chairman, Ambassador Ilia Damagum, and the national secretary of the party, Senator Samuel Anyanwu. Why? Well, the NWC says this is as a result of alleged anti-party activities. This is breaking news just in this morning. The PDP's NWC suspending the acting national chairman, Ambassador Ilia Damagum, and the national secretary, Senator Samuel Anyanwu. Now, in the statement, which interestingly was signed by Honorable Debo Olugwagba, the National Publicity Secretary, whom we'll get to eventually. That statement says that the NWC condemns the anti-party activity of the acting national chairman and the national secretary, which it says is a gross violation of the provisions of the PDP Constitution as amended in 2017 and their oath of office. Quite a lengthy statement, really, about 4-5 paragraphs, but that is one side of the story, Bukola.
Yes, with regards to the national chairman, acting national chairman and national secretary, the second paragraph of that statement actually reads thus, that it has to do with the letter addressed by them to the Court of Appeal in number CAPH 307/2024 against the party's position in the case involving the 27 former members of the Rivers State House of Assembly who vacated their seats upon decamping from the PDP to the All Progressives Congress. Well, that's according to the PDP at the national level. We cannot particularly call them now former members because of the Court of Appeal judgment affirming that Honorable Martin Amewule is the Speaker of the State House of Assembly. That court judgment also nullifying the budget that was presented before the Edison Ehie group loyal to the Governor Fubara. But Kade, you were saying something earlier that we'll get to the National Publicity Secretary of the PDP. So go ahead, Kade.
Oh, yes, because another statement, this time signed by Chinwe Norom, National Director of Publicity for the NWC, says that two people, the National Publicity Secretary, Debo Olugwagba, and the National Legal Advisor, Kamaldeen Adeyemi Ajibade, SAN, have been asked to step aside. So there you go. It looks like a major shakeup. At one point, it might seem a bit contradictory, saying that it was Mr. Debo Olugwagba that signed the statement suspending the acting national chairman and the national secretary. But then another statement, which you see there, saying that the NWC constituted a committee chaired by the Deputy National Chairman, Taufik Arakbaja, to investigate issues raised against the officers. And now they've been asked to step aside while other people assume the office in their stead. Ibrahim Abdullahi Manga, Acting National Publicity Secretary, and Barrister Okechukwu Osoa as Acting National Legal Advisor.
So we'll see how it plays out. But suffice it to say, things have never really been the same with the PDP since the disagreement over the choice of the party's presidential candidate coming from the north after the former chairman had also emerged from the north. But even before then, it's always been one level of crisis to another in the former ruling party, the People's Democratic Party.
And we can even backdate to the former President Jonathan's period, where governors left and it looked like the House was crumbling, then the issues between the chairmen. So this actually dates back even to pre-2015 as well. The PDP has not remained the same ever since. But what else do we have on the show this morning, Bukola?
Well, away from party politics to governance, as the October deadline set by the federal and state governments for conducting local government elections draw close, reports suggest that state governors may have begun fresh lobbying against the enforcement of the verdict. So this morning, we attempt a peep into the crystal ball of that report of the 10-member Interministerial Committee on the implementation of the Supreme Court ruling on local government areas autonomy. That's ahead of the submission date scheduled for October the 13th.
And the big one, the fuel price. Reverse the price increase, says the Nigeria Labour Congress, NLC. But is there any bite to this demand beyond what some have described as a bark? Perhaps something different from the ones that have trailed the previous petrol price increase as well. We'll find out on the show today.
And as Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the International Day of the Girl Child today, leaders may just be reimagining the place and purpose of the girl child if the theme of this year's celebration, Girls' Vision for the Future, is anything to go by. And this year's theme conveys both the need for urgent action and persistent hope driven by the power of the girls' voices and vision. But does the girl child even know that there's power in her voice? And is the world allowing her the opportunities she requires to grow? Today, we'll listen to the girls as we help to amplify their voices.
And much later on the show, yes, quite a package for you. How much of creativity is inherited from the genes and how much is learned? Well, we'll find out from award-winning movie director Tosin Igho, who's not only following his father's footsteps, but also blazing his own trail.
A bumper package, right? Yes, indeed. So you don't want to miss any part of it. And you are the third anchor on the show. So we always wait to amplify your voices. So start typing already. Hashtag CTV Morning Brief on our preferred social media platform X. But of course, you can reach us on all the others as well. Just follow CTV Morning Brief. And after this time out, we'll continue unfolding your perfect morning start on Channels Television with the top stories. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So, top on the brief this morning, the Court of Appeals sitting in Abuja has affirmed the judgment of the Federal High Court, which set aside the 800 billion naira budget passed by 5 members of the River State House of Assembly, which was led by Edison Ehie-led group. The appellate court on Thursday dismissed the appeal filed by the governor of River State, Simlai Fubara, on grounds that it lacked merit.
Court of Appeal affirmed the decision of the Somotosho, and in affirming same, clearly stated that Right Honorable Martin Chike Amewule is the authentic Speaker of the River State House of Assembly.
Meanwhile, the River State government has insisted that the appeal court judgment on Thursday in Abuja did not reinstate the Martin Amewule-led faction of the State House of Assembly by any stretch of the imagination. In a statement signed by the State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Israel Dagogo Iboroma, SAN, in Port Harcourt on Thursday, the government clarified that the Amewule and 26 others had defected on December 11, 2023, adding that their seats became automatically vacant from the day that they announced their defection from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress to the whole world. The Attorney General insisted that the issue of defection of Amewule and 26 others was never before the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal Abuja, and therefore no court has legitimized their membership of the House of Assembly on the basis of the defection. And to Abuja now, the Senate is asking the federal government to deny allocations to Benue local government councils, rejecting the outcome of the recently conducted local government elections in the state. This resolution was adopted after the Senate Minority Leader, Senator Abamoro, raised concern over what he describes as a sham and an abuse of the Constitution. The upper chamber also condemned the Benue State Independent Electoral Commission over the conduct of the October the 5th, 2024 exercise.
All tiers of government in the Federation should immediately comply with the recently pronounced judgments of the Supreme Court of Nigeria, particularly relating to local government accounts, and then the funds of local government going directly to the local governments for its utilization to improve the lot of Nigerians. And I assure you that the 10th Senate, working with our colleagues in the House of Representatives, will alter any aspect of our Constitution, amend any section of our laws to ensure full autonomy.
The House of Representatives is asking the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission to provide comprehensive information on funds recovered from ministries, departments and agencies on the COVID-19 intervention funds. The House made the resolution after considering the report of the Committee on Public Accounts on a motion on the alleged mismanagement of the funds. The House is also asking the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation to provide evidence of remittances and mop-up of unspent funds on COVID-19 intervention funds from the MDAs. And some stakeholders in Nigeria's petroleum sector have described the latest hike in petrol price as the beginning of full deregulation of the sector, while some other economic experts believe that it is not yet uhuru, as further increase in pump price should not be ruled out. But for many Nigerians, the ripple effect of persistent rise in petrol price continues to put more strain on their finances and overall cost of living. The Trade Union Congress TUC is asking the federal government to urgently create a special foreign exchange window for oil marketers to enable them access dollars at a cheaper rate in order to push down the price of petrol. And that's according to the union, such special intervention could push down the pump price from what it is now to about 700 or 800 naira per litre. President of the TUC, Mr. Festus Osifo, who blamed the recent price hike on the high exchange rate, also asks the federal government to make petroleum products available so that the long queues will disappear. And the Coalition of United Political Parties, CUPP, has described the recent increase in the price of petrol as outrageous and a deliberate attempt to further impoverish Nigerians. Addressing a State of the Nation conference in Abuja, spokesperson of the coalition, Mr. Mark Adebayo, laments that in less than 18 months of President Tinubu's administration, fuel prices have been increased by over 2,000%, which has exponentially increased poverty, hunger, and general suffering of Nigerians. The NNPC Limited had on Wednesday increased the pump price of premium motor spirit from 897 naira per litre to 1,030 naira per litre. And more visits are continuing to pouring at the Dangote refinery in Lagos as the Prime Minister of Grenada, Dixon Mitchell, is the most recent to tour the refinery. Prime Minister Dixon was received and led on the tour of the refinery by the chairman and CEO of the Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, and other top-ranking staff. And Vice President Mr. Kashim Shettima has called for a concerted approach to addressing gender-based barriers to quality education. He made the call at a two-day international conference on the girl-child education in Nigeria, organized by the Nigerian Governors Forum in collaboration with the World Bank and other partners, which held at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa, Abuja. The Vice President also emphasizes the need for increased budgetary allocation by federal and state governments. And more stories now, this time in business. Well, before business, to security matters. The military says another notorious terrorist leader known as Mai Hijabi and his combatants terrorizing communities in Taraba State has been eliminated. Addressing a news conference in Abuja, the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, explains that the military is winning the war against insurgents as it continues to review its operations to ensure a safer Nigeria. General Buba also disclosed that during the week under review, troops neutralized 165 terrorists and arrested 238 others, while 35 perpetrators of oil theft were arrested, just as it rescued 188 kidnapped hostages. And Nigeria's contributory pension assets hit a new milestone of 21.14 trillion naira at the end of August, up from 20.79 trillion naira recorded in July. That's according to latest data from the National Pension Commission, PENCOM. The amount represents a 345.65 billion naira increase from its previous level, following a modest rise in the number of contributions to the pension assets. The PENCOM reports also show that the number of registered contributors, otherwise called retirement savings account, also grew more than 10.45 million at the end of August, up from 10.41 million RSA holders recorded in July. And outside our shores, at least 6 people are confirmed dead after Hurricane Milton passed through Florida. Though the total number of deaths could rise as rescue workers make their way through floodwaters and debris. More than 3 million homes and businesses were without power, while Governor Ron DeSantis says more flooding is expected in the coming days. Florida residents are being warned not to visit areas hit by Hurricane Milton after it brought tornadoes, floods, and storm surges to the state. And in sports, with less than 24 hours to the Super Eagles' 2025 AFCON qualifier against Libya, coach Augustin Eguavon says the team is well prepared for the challenge and the goal is to pick maximum points against the Mediterranean Knights. Leaders Nigeria have 4 points from their 2 matches so far, 1 point ahead of Benin Republic and 2 ahead of Rwanda. And so that let's hope that all those points come through from the Super Eagles and they're well positioned for their first few matches when the games eventually begin. Of course, you know that we'll be here to give you all of those high points. And what are you saying about the other big stories, from the increase in the pump price of petrol to local government administrations and the call by the National Assembly that funds should not be given to those states where selections were done rather than elections, and how many more actually had elections. Kaide joins me now for a review of your thoughts.
Oh,
Hello
yes,
again,
I do.
Kaide.
Bukola, just look out for my boys later today. Just watch how they'll play against Libya. We're expecting a win definitely from the Super Eagles. So all eyes on that. But let's give you some other trending issues. And we'll begin with this gesture, as it should be, from the Nigeria police. But the backstory is policemen from different parts of the country went on special duty for the Edo governorship election. Right, some who went from Kano State on that special duty then finished and were returning to their base when they were involved in an accident. 16 of them involved in an accident, 5 of them died, while 11 others were injured. Very sad one, 5 of these policemen dying, 11 others hospitalized, 8 of them have been discharged. But the good part is that, the Inspector General of Police has announced 60 million for the families of the victims and those who, of course, were hospitalized as a result of this. So that's 10 million naira each to the families of 5 deceased officers, 2 million naira each to those still receiving treatment, and 500,000 naira each to those who have been discharged after treatment. So a total of 60 million naira relief funds to the families and the victims of that fatal accident. All of them police, I should say. So this is the downside of the work they do protecting the nation. So just to bring you up to speed on the outcome of that event, or at least the update, perhaps some sort of closure for the families and the victims of that accident.
Well, a sad story, and we hope that as reporters, we get to read less and less of such stories, but all of the other challenges that need to be addressed, such that we read less of such stories, including building infrastructure, safety on our roads, should be addressed.
Oh, yes. So there's a lot, as we said, playing out in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, with the flurry of suspensions. Well, 2 suspensions, 2 step-asides. But hey, stepping aside also implies some sort of suspension. The suspension of the acting national chairman, Ambassador Damakum, the national secretary, Senator Ayawu, the publicity secretary, that's Honorable Debo Logwamba, and the national legal advisor. So quite a lot happening there. But let's get into the trends. We'll bring you more on that in the coming minutes. The first one is from the FRSC. Now, yesterday, the FRSC was trending because of a bill which is said to contain a provision that might make provision for a special group within the FRSC to carry arms. But the flip side of this is that the FRSC is urging Nigerians to embrace the use of bicycles for movement from one place to another. It's a no-brainer, right?
Aren't you going to get there eventually?
I thought we actually got there.
Get there already,
So,
right?
okay.
Well, maybe it's quite outrageous for some of us, using bicycles.
Okay. Avocado has the first comment. A bicycle should be for sport and exercise and not for mobility. Well, let's continue.
Because some eventually have to travel on trunk A roads, on trunk B roads, where bicycles are not particularly proper for transportation. So not everyone can use a bicycle.
Okay, not everyone.
Not everyone.
But the user says it's meant to be for sporting exercise and not for mobility, but of course not. You see, even here in Nigeria, people who actually ride bicycles to work, not the...
Within the neighborhood, you can ride a bike 500 meters to the market, to the gym, but not to far distances.
You should be able to if you're well protected. But hey,
okay.
What's the next user? This one, Boundless.
Boundless says use of bicycles on a road that has not been enabled for bicycle users,
exactly.
And where you have so many unfit drivers, please let's not endanger the lives of the citizens. First, do the needful.
Exactly. So those are the points we need to make. We need to have lanes earmarked for bicycles Then the commercial
and
riders.
we have those lanes on our highways, bridges, and expressways.
Well, I've seen a few. I think in the FCT, I saw something like that. I'm not quite sure, but I think I've seen very few. I can even count maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that have such. But then the other road users, the commercial.
So it's not a policy that would address the needs of 200 million Nigerians.
So there needs to be a lot of work done in that area. So that is that about that. Let's know what you think. Some have moved on to scooters, not mentioning names. But let's see what you think
But
about
we know them.
in the light of the petrol price increase. But let's move on to another trend.
And Kadi, it seems that this is not going away anytime soon. We
Right.
had cause to talk about it sometime a few days or a week ago or so, and it's back again as customers of a particular bank are demanding that service be rendered to them. And there seems now to be a rush to that bank, according to reports, for withdrawal of their monies. And so this is the report, pandemonium as customers storm a bank to demand their money. And the first person writing in is Jet Daniel, who says, these customers can sue for damages because their monies have been held for a week and their businesses and other things would have been affected. And they call on the bank to accept their loss and compensate these customers heavily because, according to this writer, it's not funny.
And this is something we've reported, and we had lots of people, chiming in, talking about their experience with other banks. It looks like everybody has their fair share of experience with the banking sector, and they expect better service, particularly because of those charges that they see from time to time. So while that is playing out, we expect that the regulator, of course, does its job and protects all of the customers. But this other one about the fuel price hike, from federal government saying we're not responsible for the petrol price hike. I imagine Nigeria saying you are responsible for this. We choose to blame you, but the federal government saying we are not. They're saying this is a deregulated sector, NNPC limited, and all of that. And this user Vic_sign says you are responsible. Took it right out of my mouth, or maybe I took it right out of this user's mouth. The cost of crude oil is too expensive. Okay, imagine you're saying petrol is too expensive due to our value of currency. Dangote buys crude oil to produce before he sells a profit, so it still comes down to the government fault. So I think it's still meant to say crude oil. But interesting perspective there from the user.
And just one more, Ohaz for real says, even if FG, that's federal government, is not responsible for the hike, they should do something to ameliorate the hardship it has brought to its citizens. In times like this, government should take a proactive approach to addressing the issue as life is becoming unbearable for the poor. And so they say that the sector has been deregulated and that prices are determined according to the vagaries of the international market and all of that. But some lawyers are also saying, look, according to the PIA Act, prices should not be deregulated, that there should be some form of regulation. So perhaps we need an interpretation of the PIA Act as far as price of petrol is concerned. But governments all over the world, intervene in critical sectors, and this is not an
one
exception.
that we look
This
forward.
is one,
Okay.
absolutely.
So there you go. A lot more coming your way on the show this morning. Just the tip of the iceberg, as I say. So keep your comments coming in, #CTV and let us know what you think about the issues, and then we'll, of course, reflect your thoughts on the program. But we'll take a moment now.
And we'll start with something that affects you very, very, to a large extent, local government administration, as far as policy is concerned, and that July 11 ruling of the Supreme Court ordering transfer of funds to local government accounts directly. How will it be implemented? It's a conversation that you should be a part of. So join us after this break.
Yes, quite a lot on the lineup this morning, from the petrol price hike situation to local governance and a lot more. So let's start off with local government issues first, because governance and politics is local, right? Then, of course, we'll move on to the other issues. The Senate recently had to double down, yes, on the Supreme Court's judgment for FG's or LG's financial autonomy, saying, hey, they're noticing some things with state government and this local government autonomy. And they had to say, well, the judgment of the Supreme Court has to be adhered to. But a lot of people thought it's a given, right? The Supreme Court has given a judgment. Everyone and anyone should naturally align. So it shouldn't be an issue. But today we're probing some of the things that the Senate has seen, such that they now have a cause to raise the alarm and say, hey, you need to be watchful of state governors. Is there a tussle for power, or this is all for good governance? We have joining us on the program this morning the senator who raised the alarm on the floor of the Senate, Senator Tosin, representing Labour Party, Anambra North. Senator, you're welcome to the morning brief.
Thank you, my dear brother. Good morning.
Good morning. Just before we get into that alarm that you raised, and it sort of just reawakened everybody, I'd like to get your thoughts on something very interesting playing out within the PDP, because I know that you were a member of the PDP. You contested up until, I think, 2015, when you contested. Then fast forward, you moved to APC, then Labour Party, but you know the PDP all too well. Now, seeing what is playing out within the PDP, Ambassador Damagum suspended, Senator Anyanwu suspended, even the publicity secretary suspended, national legal advisor, the same thing. I don't know. Is this maybe the carcass of PDP we're seeing, or you see a party that is probably trying to recover from those challenges which you probably saw and left the party as a result of?
My brother, you just captured it correctly. I contested under PDP 2013 as a governorship candidate. I was House of Rep member under PDP. I won House of Rep twice, but I was won in only once. Even with certificate of return twice. I was governorship candidate of PDP 2013. I did not win. And my brother, Governor Obiano, won me. I came second. I was governorship candidate of APC 2017. I did not win. So I'm not in a position to discuss about the internal affairs of PDP. That is not my interest. It doesn't concern me. I was PDP before. I'm no longer PDP now. But we should emphasize the issue of party or no party. I'm more interested in what happens to the country, to Nigerians, especially people at the grassroots. That is my major occupation. And also the people of Anambra North that gave me their mandate to be in the National Assembly. As we said, I was of PDP, I was of APC, and today I'm of Labour Party. So, but that is not my area of interest, special area of interest. My area of interest is how do we deepen democracy? How do we help the people at the grassroots? How do we reduce poverty? How do we tackle the striking case of unemployment in Nigeria that has been rising geometrically, and also the issue of insecurity? That is my major area of concern, not the issue of whether there's crisis in PDP or not. That one doesn't concern me.
Well, clearly, all things have passed away for you, but it's just to reiterate that you were a part of the PDP, and I wonder if this is some of the things that you saw that you then left the party. But let's get into the main.
Well, I've not been following keenly.
I know. So let's move into
what is happening there.
I understand. So let's move into the substantive matter. Right, that was just by the way, just as a politician and a member of Nigeria's National Assembly. So you raised the alarm, and I'm quite curious. What did you see that made you raise the alarm on the floor of the Senate? Because the governors will tell you, hey, we're conducting local government elections, and you are seeing these elections playing out. So we're trying to meet the deadline. But for you, you saw something else, and you're raising the alarm. So what is proof tangible enough to show that the governors are not complying or do not plan to comply with the Supreme Court judgment?
My brother, you see, I was talking with empirical facts. I'm a scientist, being a medical doctor by training. So in medicine, it's better for you to prevent a disease than running helter-skelter on how to cure the disease. That's why they say prevention is better than cure. Let me give instance. on the case of my own state, Anambra State. Sometimes, maybe 9 days ago, 10 days ago, the governor sent an executive bill where he proposed many provisions. In fact, he proposed 3 different accounts. One, he called it joint account, say local government account. Another one, he called joint consolidated account. Another one, he called joint security trust fund account. 3 accounts for state assembly to pass law. And state assembly just passed it 2 or 3 days ago. They have passed it. What are the laws about? The laws are about how to take this money, siphon this money, take choke of this money that Supreme Court has already given judgment. So my motion did not center on Anambra State. I didn't mention any state in my motion. My motion centers on the fact that Supreme Court, being a policy court, being the apex court of the land, the court has given a judgment. And by section 287 of 1999 Constitution, every organ, every court, every party in Nigeria is duty bound to obey the judgment of the Supreme Court. And not only that, they gave a direct order to say all the government officials, state government officials, their agents, their privies, then public officers like EFCC, ICPC, and others, although they didn't mention them, but they are part of public officers, are duty bound. That's relief 13. I think the final relief that the Supreme Court gave, Justice Agim Emmanuel, is lead judgment, that they are duty bound to obey this judgment. So what I saw that few state governors have sort of already in flagrant violation of Supreme Court, that what the 7-man panel, 6 men, 1 woman, Justice Iheme Nwosu, Chioma Iheme Nwosu, she's the only female in that panel. What they saw that to happen is already happening by giving an order, by saying no law of state assembly should ever be made or be enacted to circumvent this their judgment, because they know that few governors they take solace in the fact that siphoning, diverting local government funds is the only thing they think. Let me give instance. I just read a report this morning on my way to studio that monthly federal government spend billions of naira on ecological fund given to state and local government. But I bet you that few states in Nigeria or few local government have not seen the ecological fund. The government collect it, they collect their own, collect that of local government, few government, not all of them. And still, if you go to the IDP camps or refugee camps during the time of flooding, like my own state, Anambra, you see where the children of people, the parents are staying. No doors, no this thing, no ceiling. But what happened, or what is the fate of this money government provides every month from the federation account? Every month, federal government gives money to local government and state, running to billions of naira. Then every month, federal government gives allocation. Every month, federal government gives a lot of money from deduction from tax and VAT. But the one meant for local government, especially the one for the one meant for administration of local government, the governors, not all of them, few of them, kept what you call show. What Justice Adume Moore said, show, just to render local government redundant. Let me tell you, that constitutional provision they are relying upon, section 162, subsection 6 and 7, that say joint local government. No, Supreme Court adjudicate on the matter. Justice Agim and also Justice Adumen, in their own different judgments, in the same matter, said no, that based on that provision, that the local government, the state joint account or whatever nomenclature they call it, are just carriers to receive the money. That before 1999, that 774 local governments in Nigeria used to come to Abuja, collect checks for their local government and go back. But the framers of 1999 Constitution felt that it was cumbersome, logistic and otherwise. Let them now be, let the state receive, just receive the money and give to local government. But that has not been the case for the past 20 years. And Supreme Court captured it in their judgment. They now say, no, now give it back, give it direct. That section 162, subsection 3 and 5, made it mandatory that the 3 tiers of government, federal, state, and local government, should receive money from the federation account and share. And that there is no joint ownership. Justice Agim Emmanuel, in page 28 of his own judgment, lead judgment, said, this money, there is no joint ownership. Federal has their own, state has their own. Local government has their own. Imagine President Bola Ahmed Tinubu taking the money of any state in Nigeria. Why should governors, who are the numero, in their different states.
All right.
Why should few of them be siphoning the money? It is criminal. We are not going to allow it.
Okay, Senator Way,
let me alert you. That's
a very quick one before before my main question. Since you always proceed with scientific evidence, besides Anambra State, do you have evidence to the effect that other state governors, and you can mention them, are using state assemblies to legislate that local government should send funds to a special consolidated revenue account?
Okay. I interface with few persons, directly and indirectly, from Anambra government. They say that what they are doing, that some few governors have sent the executive bill to their state assembly. I don't know whether that passes or not. I say, okay, give me the evidence. They have not come to the evidence. But maybe they want to test run using Anambra State. Maybe a few of them want to test run using Anambra State. So the one I'm sure of is Anambra State that's already passed the law. They sent it before I raised the alarm by doing a press conference last week. They have not passed the law. They just passed it a few days ago. 3 different accounts. Section 13, 14, Section 16 of the new law of Anambra State government. I remember I said in page 34 of this judgment by Supreme Court, Justice Agim said, no law of state assembly, no law. These are wise men and the woman who saw tomorrow, because they know that this is what's going to happen. Should violate this, our judgment.
All right. So during that deliberation,
answer to your question.
Okay, land on that point. Land on that point.
In direct answer to your question, as of now, the one we are sure that they are doing, that state government has already done, is that of Anambra State, in flagrant disobedience to judgment of Supreme Court. But my motion did not mention any state, because I know that they want to use Anambra State to test run. Maybe it's possible that 1 or 2 or 3 other states have already started their own.
Okay.
But the one who have empirical fact, who have the law, is Anambra State.
So during that deliberation on the floor of the Senate, Senator Adamu Aliero raised a motion that the Senate should not be debating a matter that had already been decided by the Supreme Court. I wonder what informed that decision, since senators, like other legislators, are representatives of their people. So what interest?
Aliero clarify his position. Let me inform you, my sister Bukola. When we enter the executive section, I'm not supposed to discuss what we discussed in our executive section. It's confidential. It's for the public interest. But know that 90% of senators agreed to the motion. But what Senator Lelo said was that this matter, he clarified himself. He said, this matter is not a matter to be discussed at all. We should pass a resolution immediately to stop or to condemn any governor, any state government who wants to disobey this judgment. What Aguilera was trying to say. He was trying to emphasize the finality of Supreme Court judgment. The finality, that's section 287. That was his point of order. He said, what are they doing? What are they saying? That any judgment of Supreme Court is binding. Is binding on everybody. So that what the Senate should do is just to pass a resolution, not even to start discussing pro and con. So pass a resolution to say, don't tamper with this money. Don't do any law. State government, don't do any law against judgment. That was, so Senator Aliero Adamu, being a former governor, being a very ranking senator, was 100% in support. But people try to misinform or try to misunderstand what his point of order. His point of order was that this is a final judgment. That if the governors are not comfortable with the judgment, let them go to court, to Supreme Court, to say, reverse yourself. That was the essence of what Senator Aliero was saying. So Senator Aliero was 100% in support of what the motion was all about.
So people have always raised concerns over the motions of the Senate, what bite it really has at the end of the day. On the one hand, there's a Supreme Court judgment, right? And it's clear that everyone and anyone should obey it. But if you say that some of the states are now finding ways around it, I think you mentioned Anambra. It would be good to hear if there are other states specifically. But just how much bite will the Senate motion have? How far are you willing to go to ensure that the judgment of the Supreme Court is obeyed? I should say again that there are at least 10 governors or former governors thereabouts in the Senate today. So a lot of them have an understanding of how these things run. Again, most of them didn't do what was meant to be done constitutionally regarding local government. So perhaps this is a way to repair the things they did in the past or not. But speak to us, how far is the Senate willing to go to enforce this if it is able to do that?
Okay, my brother, you see, let me inform you. The former governors in our midst, like Senator Alero, the Senate President, Senator Bello from Niger, former governor, the Senator Dixon, Seriaki, former ever. These people gave examples of what happened when they were governors. They never tampered with these local government funds. They said it there. It was very clear. And they set it as an example. Let me tell you, we have passed a resolution. I remember that not only resolution, in page 55 of this Supreme Court judgment, I mean the lead judgment by Justice Agim, the paragraph relief 13 granted by Supreme Court, they say this judgment is binding. We are giving an order of injunction, binding on state government officials, binding on other public officers. We, the Senate, will pass resolution. We know that few governors, like my own governor, my big brother and my senior friend, very senior in all ramifications, an erudite professor of economics, world acclaimed, we know that they are recalcitrant, that they want to still progress, to siphon money meant for the grassroots against the Supreme Court judgment. We are not going to hold our arms and allow the Supreme Court judgment to be bastardized, because few persons came into office by the Supreme Court judgment, either by Pine Kuriam or not. Pine Kuriam means in error, Supreme Court has given judgment. Remember, some of us are an activist too. We have been active before we came to Senate. Be rest assured that we are going to use every means within the ambit of the law to ensure that this shock, Justice Adumen, more his own contribution judgment, says shock that the governors, some of them, not all, have used on local government to make it like the colony, use the word colony, that governors have subjected local government as their own colony, that making them reluctant and going to extinction. So my direct answer to your question is that we are going to use every means. Even means, I will not say it on this television now, but those means will be within the ambit of the law to stop the life of my own governor from siphoning the money. Because go and check your record today. The highest problem we are facing today is the problem of youth restiveness, the problem of insecurity, the problem of unemployment. Occasioned by what? Occasioned by these few governors siphoning and diverting local government funds meant for the people at the grassroots level. So we are going to engage them. Senate has passed their resolution. It's left for them to implement or not. Supreme Court has given their judgment, which is the most important. Supreme Court judgment is more important than any other thing you're talking about. And it's binding on everybody. So we are, as an activist I'm sorry, I'm not talking as a senator now. I'm not the Senate spokesperson. There's a Senate spokesperson, Senator Yemi from Ekiti, who is very elderly, who is more senior to
Senator Woye
together. But we rest assured that we're going to use every means within the law to stop them. I'm saying it with authority.
All right.
We're going to stop them. We're not going to allow Professor Chomosoludo and his likes to continue siphoning the money meant for the grassroots.
Well, Senator Woye, we look forward to hearing.
Listen, but wait. Supreme Court said it to. Let me inform you now. It's information. Don't be offended.
Please go ahead.
Supreme Court said in page 28 there is no joint ownership. This money is meant for them. They should take their own. They are taking their own. Let them leave this one for them. We are not going to allow them for them to say go to court and challenge it. Which court? The final court in the land has decreed, has given their decision. We are not going to allow them. I can assure you that one. And I'm happy that the Senate, 10th Senate, led by Senator Godswill Akpabio, is determined. And let me tell you, this is the highest legacy so far that this present government, led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has executed.
All right.
By having the strong way.
Well, Senator Woye, let me come in now.
To allow his.
Right, pardon me. Let me just come in now.
To institute action.
Right. So let me come in quickly. Of course, we look forward to hearing the side of the Anambra State Governor on this one. I know he had spoken about this autonomy, speaking about what happens in other climes and how he expects this to be done. Right. So maybe he had never really hidden his own perspective towards this judgment. But let's speak to this point. Anambra State had the local government elections. ABGA won all 21 local governments and 326 wards. Clearly, Labour Party did not win anything. And the question then is this fight, this activism by you and your colleagues, you spearheading it, or at least raising the alarm, is this about, political power, saying that your party did not really do well in the election and you're like, you can't just have it all. We need to have a share of this. Or is this really for the people? Because again, the government can say, you see, the people have voted us. They voted for our local government chair. So they basically want our party to continue. They like our policies and the laws we're implementing. So what is the motivation? Is this because you didn't win in that election or for the people?
My brother, I'm happy to ask this question. Labour Party did not participate. APC did not participate. They're even in court now. Labour Party, which I belong to, did not participate in the election. APC did not participate because we had intelligence, incredible intelligence, that the state governor has written list of all his caretaker, all. He returned all his transition chairmen, deputy chairman, councillors, all. No primary by ABGA, no election. But that was not my go of grass. So our grass is that he did not allow election. He had written names of his transition chairmen, councillors, all through. Go and check the record. All through. That is why APC and Labour Party boycotted. And they are in court before the 10th. But we are saying that those names he has written as councillors and council chairmen, sworn in, allow them to manage their money. So
pardon me, Senator Moye, just to be clear, pardon me to quickly come in here.
Wait, let me inform you.
I need to get clarification. You would land, when you say the names he wrote, do you mean the names that were submitted to the State Electoral Commission to vie in that election? Or you mean they wrote results? Do you mean they wrote the results or they wrote...
Their transition.
Okay.
My brother, let me inform you. Their transition councillors can transition caretaker, he has been running. Anambra State has existed for 14 years. ABGA government, 14 years and 6 months. They only did election only once, 2014 January. So Anambra State has been there for 10 years, ABGA government without local government election. Now, he now wrote names of all his transition and caretaker people, all, no primary, no election. The Labour Party and APC went to court before then to challenge the procedure. So, if there's anybody to keep quiet, it's we. Because the entire people who are going to benefit with this struggle is all people. ABGA transition chairman, who he has converted to elected council chairman by his own nomenclature of election, which I'm not going there. Let him, those people, he has announced names. They are told INSEC to announce names. Let them benefit. So we are the one fighting for them to benefit, to use their money, is something that should be applauded. We are saying that these 326 councillors and 21 local government chairman and deputy chairman that the INSEC has announced, either by election or whatever, allow them to use their money. Why is it that the governor does not trust them to use their money? You have announced them through the INSEC. Allow them to make use of their money. So it is even more patriotic that somebody from another party is raising the alarm. APC will not benefit from it. APC Anambra, Labour Party will not benefit from it because we don't have even one councillor. No problem. He said that we are not existing in Anambra. No problem. Allow them to enjoy their money. It's not his money. Supreme Court has said that this money is not belong to state government or federal government. It belongs to local government. So people who are going to benefit, who are going to operate this money are his people. But who will benefit eventually if it's released? The Anambarians. Because let me tell you, poverty does not know religion, does not know political party. In this subject matter, we are saying, Governor Chukwuma Soludo, world acclaimed economics, stop siphoning money meant for local government. Release the money to them. You have announced names through the INSEC.
Senator Moye,
those names you have announced through INSEC.
Senator Moye,
make use of this money.
It will be important to mention at this point that there is no evidence yet that the governor of Anambra State has siphoned local government funds. I believe you do not have evidence to present to us. So a word of caution. A word of caution here, particularly because the governor is not here to also defend some of the allegations that you are leveling at this point. But you said earlier that the former governors who are now senators in this current assembly, 10th assembly, they're in support of local government autonomy, and they never siphon funds. Would the Senate be willing, in the interest of the public, to conduct an audit into their accounts while they were governors to determine that indeed they did not siphon local government autonomies during their tenures as governors?
Okay, Bukola, Senator Bello from Niger, former governor, told the Senate that he never touched this money. That's what he told us. Senator Seriki Dixon, who was a former governor, said so. Senator Adamu Alero, who was a former governor, said so. That was what they told us. In the case of my own state, I'm saying that Abga-led government, not only his present government, after all, when did he come? He just came 2 years and 6 months. That the practice has been this money will come, they will pay salaries and use the other one as they like, as a shook. I challenge anyone to a debate here for me to provide facts and figures to show that our money are being diverted. Different local governments in Anambra, not only, it didn't start from Governor Soludo, it has been practiced under Abga-led government. I challenge them to a debate in channels or anywhere they want, even in Anambra, even in government house. Let me invite me, let me come with empirical facts and evidence. But that, I'm not being particular in Anambra because you asked me a particular state. Remember that my motion has nothing to do with Anambra. I didn't mention Anambra in my motion. I never threw out my motion from beginning to end.
Senator Nwoye,
I want to.
You've mentioned Anambra at least dozens of times on this show this morning. So you may not have mentioned it, but you have mentioned Anambra. In fact, you have centered on Anambra today. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mentioned Anambra on this program. No, but I say my motion. I can send a soft copy of my motion. My motion on the Senate did not mention any state. It's for the entire Nigeria. I moved my motion. My motion never mentioned any state. It's only in channels that I mentioned Anambra.
All right.
Because you asked me too. Remember that asked me, Bukola. Remember that he asked me which states, and I said the one has already passed the law. 3 different accounts.
So let's make progress, Senator Nwoye. But suffice it to mention here that it will be instructive to see evidence that the former governors who are now senators can present evidence that they didn't siphon funds during their tenure as governor, local government funds. But during that motion yesterday, the Senate also said that it is willing to carry out alterations to the Constitution to firm up local government autonomy. But we know that this will also go to all of the 36 state assemblies. So are you willing to also carry out, to go the extra mile in your legal pursuit to ensure that this local government autonomy becomes, indeed backed up by the Constitution, such that there are no more loopholes that can be exploited by state assemblies?
Well, the Senate will pass the Joint National Assembly. I'm optimistic that they're going to pass some alterations as it concerns amendment. But at the same time, they have to go to state assemblies for 2/3 concurrence. So when it goes there, whatever happens, I cannot predict. I cannot stand in this studio and predict what will happen. But what I can predict is that for sure, the National Assembly, 10th National Assembly, Senate and House of Rep, will pass some alterations through amendment. But it must go for concurrence by state assembly. So whatever happens there, I can't predict it.
Okay.
But my own main concern now is that the judgment that Supreme Court has passed, not about Anambra, as I said, I'll give you a soft copy, Bukola, of my motion. It has nothing to do with Anambra. But you have asked me, although I had mentioned Anambra earlier, I had a state that has already done it. That is why I mentioned Anambra.
Right.
That is why I never said whether Anambra did a free and fair election or not. I never went to any studio before now to mention whether the election was free and fair or not. Even the floor of Senate, it didn't concern me.
Right.
That was not my business. My business that they have done election. Those people are entitled to their money. They are all Abga councillors. But their councillors, they are Anambarians, whether Abga or Labour Party, they're all Anambra. let them enjoy their money.
And in any case, Senator Nwoye,
let them use their money to work for our people.
Right. In any case, you have described Governor Soludo as your very, very senior brother whom you respect a lot. So I imagine that, I mean, you have a relationship with him to that extent. But let's stretch this conversation.
I must confess, I have.
Right.
I have.
So I imagine you can also...
one for that matter.
Right. So you can speak to him and say, well, what I think you're doing is not right. And a lot of people, the comments they're saying is, okay, if the Senate has discovered this, then we need to really act fast, right? So that at least the Senate can write its own names in sands of time and basically etch it in stone, right? But let's speak to this point. The Labour Party has a governor, Governor Alex Otti, in Abia State. And I wonder if you're also curious about what your own governor is doing with local government funds. Is he siphoning it, as you have alleged, for Anambra State? Certainly you are concerned, and I imagine you've had a conversation with him as well.
I don't know. I don't know what he's doing with the local government funds. I don't know. I've not done any inquisition about it. I will not hold brief for him. Even the senators who were governors, like Governor Bello, like Dixon, and others, I say what they told us, so I can't hold brief for them. Let me talk with empirical facts. That of Anambra, I'm talking with empirical fact. For Abia, to be specific, yes, the governor is doing his best, just like Governor Soludo is doing his best in infrastructure, payment of salaries and co. But in terms of what he does with the local government funds, I don't know. I've never done any inquisition on that matter. That is my answer to that.
Okay, I know you're referring to that, and just to place all of this on the table, you're referring to that bill, a new bill that was introduced, I think, the Anambra Local Government Administration Law 2024. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, good. So have you read through that law from maybe back to back, front to back, rather?
Yes, I've read this substantially.
Okay,
substantially.
So let's speak to some of the things you saw, and that can form some sort of evidence in these conversations. And we expect that the Anambra State government will also speak to this.
My brother, read section 13, 14, 16, and 17.
They'll speak to us.
Read it if you have the law there.
Tell Nigerians, what does that say? What do those sections
say? What the law is saying,
the proposed law, yeah.
That if they receive money from Federation account, that within 2 days of the receipt of the money from Federation account, within 2 days, they should pay it into a consolidated account, joint by local government and the state. That is number one. That within 2 days of receiving the money, that is in flagrant disobedience to judgment of Supreme Court that says don't pay to any government agencies or anything, or creation of any law by state assembly. That is number one. Number two, I think section 14 now saying that they will now determine a percentage. They will determine a percentage. How the money will be shared. State assembly will now make law. That is, as I said, that I didn't come to studio with the judgment, with the law. Then another one is saying that, section 16 or so, that 20% of that money that came from Abuja for regional account, we're not talking about IGR, is the one that federal government is bossy, so that 20% of it will go to what they call Joint Security Trust Fund. Joint Security Trust Fund, 20% of that money will be extracted. And who will be chairman is the special advisor to governor, should be chairman of to manage that 20% that will be deducted.
All right.
You understand? So
Senator Nwoye,
these are three major highlights.
If we
and check page, sorry, Bukola.
Yes. So if we get the point of what you've been saying all along, you have in fact averred that portions of that Supreme Court judgment by Justice Emmanuel Agim has anticipated and indeed covered what state assemblies may try to do. To siphon funds, quote and unquote, without.
God bless you.
So my question is, who is duty bound to enforce this in case other state assemblies try to exploit this their office?
The Attorney General of Federation and the EFCC, ICPC, and NFIU, because in page 55 of this judgment, under relief 12 and relief 13 of the judgment, lead judgment by Justice Agim, he said an order of injunction compelling for compliance by state governors, their agent privies, and public officers. So ICPC is a public officer, EFCC is a public officers, NFI are public officers, Attorney General of Federation is a public officer. So it's under the relief sought granted by Justice Agim, his own part of judgment. So in this subject matter, answering your question is ICPC, NFIU, EFCC, and Attorney General of Federation, because they are trying to disobey the judgment.
Right.
And just like I already said, Bukola, the Supreme Court justices knew that this is what we're going to do. That's why they say no state law, no state assembly should ever do a law to circumvent this our judgment.
All right.
By creating anything in the name of joint anything.
Well, Senator, on a final note, I know that this conversation is far from over, and I imagine that a lot of people in states are watching, and local governments are watching, and also perhaps wondering what is being done with the funds, and hopefully they will follow up. But I understand that Premium Times had reached out to the Commissioner for Information in Anambra State, Mr. Lomefo, who said that Section 7 of the Constitution empowers, states, houses of assembly to make laws regulating local government. And he argued that the Constitution empowers the state governments to oversee the affairs of local government, both in administration and finance. In fact, in his words, he said that if we don't do that, any of these young local government chairmen can decide to play around with what they will consider their own priorities. So he says that, well, this is their own way of overseeing and sort of safeguarding the finances of local governments. Your final words on that one. Okay. Answer to your question. These arguments and other arguments were canvassed by state governments before Supreme Court. I read their arguments. They canvassed before Supreme Court. Supreme Court now took all these arguments and dismissed them and gave a consolate judgment in each of them. They said no, that was not the intent of the Constitution. That the Constitution in section 162, 3 and 5 provided for 3 tiers, no joint ownership, that they should not even come near this money. Then now, answering to your issue of this young local government chairmen, listen to me, they don't have immunity. They don't have immunity. Some people have been holding sway to their money for a long time. They are supposed to use to develop the grassroots. The local government chairman doesn't have immunity. So if they don't do what they're supposed to do with the money, public money, the security agencies will be there. The NFIU, ICPC, and EFCC, they will not work for 4 years or 2 years for their time to finish their tenure. They will invite them immediately. There is the public money. So that argument is just an excuse to continue doing what they were doing before. Right. That is what Supreme Court, in their wisdom, said, this era you have done for 20 years is over. We are going to stop you. And they stopped them. But they now want to use a flimsy excuse. These are members of their party. They now don't trust them that they will do what is correct. So if they don't do what is correct with this public funds from federal government, we, the citizens of different states, I don't want to be particular in Anambra, we use every available means to call any local government chairman to order who refuses to use this money for the benefit of what the money comes from. So the argument that my brother, Mefo, which I respect so much, the Honorable Commissioner, is just a fallacy, a ruse, a subterfuge. They want to keep on taking this money. All right. Well, Senator Way, it's good to hear the respect you have for these men, both the governor, the commissioner, and others. But we have to thank you so much. I respect them so much. Very much. I respect them so much. I understand that. Senator Tony Way. Sorry, I want to correct an impression, my brother. We have to anchor now. This being has no party affiliation. All right. What I'm saying is that these people that have been elected in quote, either by proper election or not, they have been elected. All right, Senator Tony Way, we have to function. We have to go now. Again, you are doing it out of respect. We have to thank you so much, Senator Tony Way, LP Anambra North, who says he's not just a lawmaker, he's also an activist on this one. And I do hope that this will raise a bigger conversation on local governance in the country. Thank you so much for your time on the program. Thank you. We'll take a moment now. When we return, yes, there's still a lot on the table. We're not done just yet. Issues of national importance lay ahead of us. So stay with us right here on Morning Brief.
Girls' voices and vision is a theme for this year's International Day of the Girl Child. But beyond the interesting line, what are leaders doing to give expression to the vision and voice of the girl child? This is the next part of our conversation this morning. And joining us on the program to look at the challenges of the girl child and indeed the opportunities of the girl child as we celebrate this year's edition is Mrs. Fumilayo Oyekomi, a girl child advocate who joins us from our Abuja studio. Good morning and welcome to the program. We also have joining us here in Lagos, Elvira Obiri, a child anti-drug campaigner. And there's also a very interesting part of Elvira. Elvira is a disc jockey. Hello, Elvira. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good morning and welcome to the program.
Thank you.
It's good to have you.
I'm
So I'm going to start with you, Elvira.
Okay.
You are a disc jockey. And how old are you, by the way?
I'm 14 years old.
You're 14. So how did you develop an interest in disc jockeying and when did you start?
Okay, so I started when I was 6 years old. I naturally love music. So like when my siblings and cousins are watching cartoons and I have access to the remote control, I can change the channel to a music channel. So one day I was watching a music video and I saw DJ Copy and other female DJs. That was when I told my dad that I want to become a DJ also.
So 6, that's a long time ago,
yes.
But you're 14 now.
Yes.
So tell us about the kinds of music that you like to disc jockey with. I hope I got the language correctly.
I love all genres of music, like old school, new school, Afrobeats, Amapiano, Afropiano, I listen and play all genres of music.
So what do you know about the International Day of the Girl Child?
Okay, it's a day to celebrate the female gender. Yeah.
Okay. What do you see to be some of the challenges of the girl child, particularly in school? How are you different from your siblings who are boys and your friends who are boys in school?
Okay. I think the girl child is a very special gender because we are different from other people because some of us are very smart and take right decisions.
Okay. We'll get back to you, Elvira, but let's go to Mrs. Fumilayo Oyekomi now, who joins us from our Abuja studio. Hello again. Beyond the beauty of the theme of this year's celebration, what are some of your reflections on the state of the girl child throughout Nigeria?
Okay, thank you and good morning. So beyond this day, of course, International Day of the Girl Child is to celebrate the girls and mobilize political will to ensure that we are investing in girls' education and treating areas that need to be treated. But beyond this day, it is very important for us to understand the statistics and know where the problem lies. When we look at some of the challenges that girls face, even at this present age, we look at lack of access to basic education, we look at child marriage and some prevalent cultural practices that are still that are still prevalent in some parts of Nigeria. We look at FGM, we look at child marriage, and some of these things just helps us to understand that we need to take further action. Urgent action is needed in terms of how we treat girls and how we prioritize these issues.
Right, and I just wonder, for you having worked in this, in this field, if I can say that, what has been maybe the major challenge? Because speaking with Elvira, it's sort of like, I don't want to say point of contact, just to show that your dreams are valid and you can be what you want to be. She's a DJ. She's 14 years old. And I mean, that's great to see. So we're using her as an inspiration to others out there. But what would you say is the biggest challenge of ensuring that the girl child actualizes her dreams, particularly in this climate?
I think one place that we need to start from is to debunk myths and to debunk the patriarchal system that has been around for ages. So when we help girls to see that beyond being a girl, there is no limitation to what they can achieve, then they begin to see and they begin to dream beyond their immediate environment. Access to information is also very key. For some of the girls that we have dealt with, we understand that some of them don't have access to adequate information. So what we do is democratize access to information. Like currently, our program for this year in Lagos has been able to empower girls in 6 different areas, talking about access to careers in the science, education, engineering, technology, and mathematics field. We talk about access to right tools to begin to build wealth and eliminate the financial dependence that exposes women to gender-based violence. Teaching girls how to take care of their bodies, enforce their rights, teaching girls how to be better in school in order to increase the school retention rates for young girls. Access to the right information helps us and helps girls to see that they can do more, they are more, and they can achieve their dreams.
Right. So let's ask Elvira naturally, now that you talk about dreams. Elvira, being a DJ, I've tried to DJ virtually, right, on the computer, and I know it's really tough because you have to get the BPM.
Yeah,
right.
yes.
You have to ensure that you merge it with the music playing.
Yeah,
and
synchronize it.
Synchronize it. And you have to know the point just to come in so that the beats will just sync, right? You see how tough it is. I tried and I said, you know what? This is not for me. This is obviously for Elvira. So speak to us about about your dreams. What are your favorite things? I know life can be very serious. Your parents will say, go to school, and then you do assignments. Some of these things build character in you, right? It just helps you learn about life. How to be consistent, disciplined, and all. But what are your dreams? What do you look forward to being, basically? And this is you, by the way, DJing. What event was this?
The drug abuse campaign at Kemibaloku Secondary School.
Wow. When was this?
Last month.
Last month, right. So you get a lot of gigs.
Yes, I do.
All right. So,
And this is an award or laurel that's been presented to you?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about this
by
one
the
also.
United States government.
and this is you with Simi.
Yes.
Beautiful. At this moment, how did you feel meeting Simi?
I feel very excited.
Right.
Yes.
And this is you with
Young John.
Young John,
Yes.
the Wicked producer.
Yes.
How did you feel meeting him as well?
I was very, very happy.
Okay, good. So you've met a lot of stars. This is you and Casey.
Yes.
And
his brother, Imani.
that's his brother, Imani. Fantastic. So you are a celebrity.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So
I like that. She says yes.
we'll get an autograph from you. But what is your dream, really? What is that dream that you envision? How big do you see Elvira being?
Okay, my dream is to share my knowledge with other girls, to bring them into the music industry so they can become big like others.
So tell us this. I always ask young people, right? So it's one thing to be young, and then you have expectations. And then you wonder, why don't they understand? I don't know if you feel that way, that why adults should understand. I'm going through my own issues as well. So if you were to speak to adults out there, lots of them, 18, 20, 30, 40 and above, what is that one thing you wish they knew about young people and a young girl child that they seem to maybe not understand about your peculiarities? And you want to take this moment and say, please understand.
Okay, so I want them to understand that they should try giving girls a chance to believe in themselves and do things they want to do the right things. Yeah.
And Elvira, you are an anti-drug campaigner, and
Yes.
we know the dangers of substance abuse in young people, and we know, the challenges that come with that, especially because of the ease of social media and the exposure of social media, how young people pick up certain habits and all of that. And at such a young age, you're taking up a worthy cause. Tell us first of all what the inspiration for this is for you, and what you'd like to tell young people using this platform as an anti-drug campaigner.
Okay, so why I did this campaign was like whenever I'm passing my area, maybe when I'm going to school or somewhere, I usually see young boys smoking weed and taking all sorts of unknown substances, and I usually feel pity for them because they don't know the effect it has to their body. So I took up this campaign to advise my fellow teens that they can do anything without taking any drugs, and they should believe in themselves.
Now, do you believe that, as a young person, do you think the government is doing enough to reduce the menace of drug abuse and all other societal ills that you see around you? And in relation to that, we can also talk about enabling the girl child to achieve her dreams. Do you see the government playing its role as it ought to?
Maybe for me, I think the government should create more jobs so that young people can stop going into drugs.
All right. We'll get back to Elvira.
I can't get enough of you. This was you DJing for who?
Benson.
This was you DJing for Benson, right?
Yes.
Fantastic. We'll also come to maybe what plays in your mind, how your routine and all of that. And I see you vibing to the music.
Yes.
DJ V. I can call you DJ V.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Fumilayo. Fumilayo, so the theme, as we said, girls' vision for the future. And I wonder, listening to DJ V, Vera speaking, I know you're imagining perhaps lots of other girls out there whom you wish had some sort of a chance to dream, to have a vision for the future. So taking off from Bukola's question about the policy from government and other stakeholders, what must we begin to put in place so we can get more from, this pool of potential? We've been clapping with one hand. So imagine we ensure that all girl child or children are able to reach their potential. We'll be clapping with two hands. So what must we do policy-wise and other stakeholders?
Okay, so currently I think I know that there are a lot of policies and a lot of laws that are there to advance the rights of the girl child. We have the Lagos State Plan of Action for Marginalized Girls, 2021 to 2025. And we have laws like the Child Rights Act that not all states have enacted, by the way. But beyond these laws, we need to do more of implementation. The problem is usually the implementation aspect. Beyond the laws, we need to mobilize political will and work with different stakeholders to advance the rights of the girl child. And, by the time the government and organizations like like Human and Social Sustainability Network, we are able to work together with the government to implement these policies, to implement these laws, and to protect the rights of children. And, also advance and help them to dream for the future.
Now, for me, we still have very real cultural and religious barriers that are set against young girls, particularly in Nigeria's north. A lot of them are still within the throes of the issues of child marriage and early school dropout, and we have quite a number of girls, sadly, in IDP camps today, who have resorted to all forms of vices just to feed. How far are we away from this era where every girl will be given that opportunity for education, to be able to make choices for themselves, particularly those girls within the social construct of Nigeria's north? How many years from now do we project Are you projecting that we're going to exit that this time, and then those girls will be empowered?
Okay, so looking at the current situation, and some days ago I was reading the SDG fact sheet for Nigeria, and the statistics for gender equality just helps us to see that we are still a bit far from achieving gender equality and from ensuring that all girls have equal access to opportunities. And talking about projection, let's say that maybe 2050, but I know that organizations are making incredible efforts to empowering girls. We talk about organizations that are focused on foundational literacy, especially for those that have been affected by insurgency and conflict and are subjected to staying in IDP camps. We talk about organizations that even empower girls with life skills, beyond the foundational literacy. So teaching them how to take care of themselves and how to gain meaningful employment so that they don't have to engage in transactional sex with older men, to feed for themselves and their families. And although there are efforts being made, but we are still far from the mark, and it is necessary for the government and organizations to prioritize investing in education. Organizations need to look at mobilizing part of their CSR budgets to empower more girls. For a country like Nigeria that we have over 200 million people, and of these 200 million, more than 24% of this population are adolescent girls between 10 to 19 years. And, if we look at the number and the number of people that are currently empowered, then we know that we have a long way to go. So this is a call. I'm imploring young people, individuals, governments, organizations to look towards investing more in girls' education, in life skills, and empowering girls. Even the boys, little acts like teaching boys early to respect women, to fight for them, and not stand by while they are being marginalized or discriminated against. Little acts like that go a long way, because when we look at perpetrators of some of these vices, we see how we see how the mindset of boys or men play a big role in the vices that they do against women.
And that would be a fine place to leave it, reflecting on that important point about how, as we build opportunities for the girl child, we should also be forming and shaping the boy child, because we intend to live a sustainable world for both the boy child and the girl child. But we must anchor at this point.
We need to still get DJ V's intervention, final words, your routine. Pardon me, we have to do that. Your routine, and to every girl out there who's looking at you and saying, I love what DJ V is doing, and I'd like to do something like that. Maybe not DJing, it could be any other thing. What is the toolkit? What is your rule book? What does it look like to at least achieving something at this age?
Okay, I just believe in myself that if I have a dream to do something, I can do it without anybody telling me yes or no. And I don't let anybody discourage me when I want to do something.
Beautiful. So I should just say that International Day of the Boy Child is May the 16th. So we need to start grooming gentlemen, just to say that. And we look forward to that celebration, Bukola.
Thank you for helping us balance things and for reminding us that we should celebrate the boy child too. All right. Elvira Obiri, child anti-drug campaigner and disc jockey. It was such a delight to have you, Elvira. Thank you for coming on. And we wish you the very best in your continuing and future pursuits. And we want to thank you very much as well for Milayo Yekomi, girl child advocate, who joined us from our Abuja studio. And so we'll take a break now. When we return, we will be looking at the opportunities and the excitement that the big screens give us. And one of those responsible for that excitement joins us in our Lagos studio now. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Okay, the man is a man of many parts. Okay, that part you saw is a part from the past. So what we'll do this morning is merge the past with the future, or with the present, and look to the future. We're joined on the program. Well, he was Igho then. Now is Peter, Igho's son, Tosin Igho. Is a movie producer, film producer, and writer, sound designer. Good morning and welcome to the morning break.
Yeah, good morning. I'm grateful to be here.
You know what just happened, right?
What?
I was going to introduce you as Peter Igho.
Okay.
And the rest, you're his son.
No, you would be wrong. I'm Junior.
Yeah, and I know you get that a lot.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
You step into a room, you say your name, and you're like, you're
Are you
his
not
son,
saying-
right?
are you not
And
saying-
I know you've talked about how first your work speaks for you,
Yes.
and then your father's name just breaks the door for you,
Yeah.
literally. But let's really talk about first your journey, because a lot of people know that song. They remember that video.
Yeah, a lot of people remember that.
Right, so they still have a mental picture that this guy is still doing music,
Okay, no.
but they've probably seen your movies and they didn't even know that it's the same Igho that was rapping then that is now responsible for this movie. So if you can just give us an abridged version of your journey from rapper, singer to
Okay,
who
so
you are now.
yes, I began the journey as a music producer. I was making beats for music. Then I now graduated into being a musician. I had my first group called Immaculate when we were like 17.
What?
Yes. Then in that process, I directed a music video that got onto Channel O at that point in time, which then now struck another chord. So while I was making music, I then went to film school. Yes.
You're very restless.
Yeah, very restless. And then in that process, I now started making music videos. So things like Booty Call from Mohits, back when Mavins was Mohits.
Yeah.
Booty Call by Face, Too Much Jimmy Jat, Terry G, David. I shot a lot of music videos from South Africa at that point in time before I then moved back and then started. I did this music that you saw here in like 2007 or 2008. So all these things I'm saying are from like 2000.
Wow.
Till then, from 2019, I made my first film, which was called Seven.
Was it a short film?
No, it was a full.
Okay, but you had done some short films.
Yeah, I'd done a couple of short films before I made the first film. I did a short film that did some buzz online.
Right.
And then I did my first feature film in 2019 that was nominated for 7 AMVCs on 2020, the COVID one. Yes.
You won how many?
We won two, but we're nominated 7 times.
Yes.
At the 7th AMVC. Then I've gone on to executive produce things like Judging Matters.
Yes.
I Am Lakon's reality show. That's I Am Lakon. Love Comeback. I've done 2 telenovelas, which is Venge, 260 episodes, and I just wrapped up another telenovela called Dust. Ooh. Yes, and then I also have an Amazon Prime original movie coming in November.
Amazing
Yes.
CV. And, I followed you on Instagram just for a bit and saw just how passionate you are about, the directorial business itself. You practically soak up, approaches to lighting and all of that.
Yes.
And we could say that the fruit does not fall far from the tree.
Yes.
So would you say that you inherited this strong instincts, for production from your dad? And, what was it like just watching him as you grew up?
I mean, like I said, it was always amazing because my high school was right next to NTA. So they kept me close.
Oh, really?
So at closing time, I'd just walk into NTA and I'd walk through the studios and disturb a lot of people. And, so you would see most of those veterans that were back then, I saw them and sat next to them from Sadiq Daba. Sadiq Daba was actually in my movie before he passed. So at least I got a chance to, for him to put me on his lap and eventually direct a scene, So I mean, I sat down with all these veterans, had conversations with them, saw my dad work, and I mean, I was one of those kids where I used to steal the camera and go and record myself doing 1 or 2 things. So it was always just like an unknown interest. I didn't see it as, this is what I was going to do, but I was always just doing it. So I didn't have time to go in another direction. I just kind of fell here. I started making music. I started doing this. Then I started making music videos, and I realized, I actually have a knack for this. I love this more. And then from there, now we started making. I started making short films. I made a few music videos that were film-like, and then then I made a short film, and then everybody is extremely impressed. Like, Tosin, you make this. come and sit down here. Come and sit down here. Are you not going to think about making a film? And I say, yeah, okay. I just wrote this short film, and so then eventually I write a film, and then he wins. Do you understand? So it's like, okay, there is some talent for this, and it's working. Then I start producing other forms of content, and they're now successful. So okay, this is and then it's a process of then understanding. Okay, my father told amazing stories in his time, and it seems like it's inherited. I can't tell great stories, and I want to tell amazing stories, and I want to tell more stories, and I have a lot of stories that I want to tell. So we're kind of wanting to focus on making a number of films in a period.
So at the 7th AMVCA,
yes,
your film 7 was nominated 7 times, and your dad got a lifetime
award. Yes.
Did you see it coming? Did both of you see it coming?
Nobody saw any of that coming. So it was wonderful. Both of us got on stage. I mean, it's one of the things that, at least, if whatever happens in the future, I always have that memory of, me and my dad winning awards for filmmaking. I wonder how he feels about it. Ask him.
I know a lot of people. So your story is quite rich. We can basically make parts from your story. It talk about your origin story, you going to NTA, learning from your dad, then you starting to learn on your own, you going into music, you going to film school, now you're doing this. There's a lot. Maybe you can think of writing a movie about yourself eventually.
It's a journey. It's still long.
It's still long, I know. But speak to us about the industry itself. I know you're versatile, and I can count a lot of things you do just by reading about you, not just music. You edit.
Yes, I edit
as well.
I edit, I shoot. I kind of do in every field, apart from makeup.
What about acting?
No, I do that. I do try, and I try and see if I'm like in this film I did a role, but eventually I cut it out.
Why?
Yeah,
we would love to see that. We won't show anybody.
Yeah, we won't show anybody. I was a car salesman. I sold the car. So,
okay, fantastic. Now, the point I'm trying to make is having tasted, or at least you're versatile enough, you understand all of these roles. There's something it does to you. You're able to envision the industry in a different sense, and maybe see the different value chains and say, hey, this can make us more money, because we're like crude oil. Right? We're being explored. I don't want to say exploited, right? Yes. So companies come, they explore crude oil, refine, sell it back to us. So we want to look for a way to be able to develop this industry such that we can stand on our own and even start exploring other industries. Ghana, for example. I hope Ghanaians won't come for me. So having looked at all of these sectors, what are the value chains, the values that we're missing out in these areas that we can begin to leverage?
Okay, so this is what I would say 100%. And I think it would kind of explain or give you clarity on what you're saying. The Nigerian industry, I think this is what's missing. It is like when you start something at SS1 and you skip primary school. So I feel because of the knowledge that I've gathered, I think that is one thing that is with the industry. It's at an advanced stage without the primary school. What I mean is that
we leapfrogged.
Yeah, we leaped. No, I mean, like we went from at a point when, let's say, example, when NTA was involved, it was picking up to a point where they were producing content, producers were being enforced, which is the first key place. Things were moving slowly. Then there's a point where it kind of just stopped, and then films just went to DVD, and that from that process it just went to sales. It wasn't the case of the content itself. It was just because that the generic story was just so powerful that the technicals or anything that was needed for proper, anything that involved an industry didn't matter. We just went to a market and started, do you understand? So it wasn't a case where we were like, okay, education, infrastructure, the business, whatever the case, it just went to market. And people just started taking from the market. So, and it was the case, so since we're already at the market, why are we going to fall back and make sure we are an industry? Do you understand what I'm saying? And I think that's still the problem that's always come across. The film industry it's an industry that's missing the industry. So there's no place you can go and say, oh, this is the history of the industry. This is what's happened. This is how it's supposed to be. This is what is supposed to happen from A to Z. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then, but right now it's not a case of, okay, we are now dealing with, as a filmmaker, as a producer, your method of making money changes regularly because there's no serious issue. So let's say you go to the cinema, and then before the cinemas were a thing, people didn't even know what to do.
Right.
And then now the online platforms came, and it was the case, okay, I don't need to go to cinema, I go to the online platforms. And then 2 years later, a few of the online platforms have left. So now you're okay, what you need to figure it out again. So you're always adapting. Always adapting and always, watching. Because if you wanted to be a filmmaker today in Nigeria, your best idea is to just go and make a film. Do you understand? Instead of thinking of, okay, there's no place to go to understand what business, industry, understand factors. You just go and make a film. Do you understand what I'm saying?
So in order to preserve all of that potential and the accompanying revenue from that potential, from our stories that Kadi often calls our crude oil,
yes.
Should we be looking more at patronizing and leaving our stories in the cinemas? Because we hear more often than not that the streaming platforms, they oftentimes pay off the movie producers, the executive producers, and the directors. But our intellectual property is sort of in their hands.
That's the thing about it now. And most of these places are not actually, let me say, they're not Nigerian owned. So these things are leaving. And they're gone. So, I mean, I can tell you I'm a victim of it. There's some things I've created that you don't be like, okay, at some point you then have to reach a position where you can stand by, no, I'm not giving away my intellectual property, but you have to reach a point in your career where you can stand back and say no. But because that's a difficult situation. It's a difficult situation because no international platform or TV is going to say, okay, we're going to give you. So if you are pitching something, it's going. That's, this is gone. This is, do you understand what I'm saying? Which is sad, but do you understand what I'm saying? So the idea is that the country itself needs to support the filmmakers because the Nollywood is, do you understand, is like the third biggest worldwide. There's a demand for it. There's a demand for our stories with us. There's a demand for our stories internationally. There's a demand for it. And because there's a demand for it, it means jobs can be made, money can be made. I mean, just the idea of a huge film school. I've gone to presentations where you're helping the school cover whatever the case, and the students are running to your section. How do we get to? But I mean, no, you're supposed to go to Shell. No, we want to. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah, because they see it. It means, I mean, look at how many music videos are made daily. Look how many commercials are made daily that are done by other countries. But here, because those people who are paying for it are like, okay, we need this standard. And now that standard, they're only few because it takes so much experience to get to that place. But if you go to a country like South Africa, education is, you learn it down, do you understand? So everybody knows what they need to do. But here, even if you want to become a great writer or a great cinematographer, which is a very technical point, it was almost like French because the information is not just accessible. You can go to YouTube, but there's a difference in YouTube and me telling you, this is what I've learned, these are the tricks, what I've tested. So you see, like sometimes when I try and do one of those tutorials and things, there are a lot of people who reach out to me and say, how do we, we want to do this, we want to make this, but they're not sure.
I know we have a few film schools. People have tried to, do some things. Some of them doing well, actually, even having people from outside saying, I want to be a part of this. But you make a vital point, really. We keep saying we have an industry, but, the industry, I wonder the foundation that it's standing on, right? And it's that foundation that really matters, right? Because the edifice can go, but once you have a foundation, you can always build and rebuild and retool. So it's a very important point you make. And I'm hoping that we can pause and say, let us build that foundation. Even if we're not going to reap the benefits today, in the coming decades, would at least say that we were able to do something. But I'm still very particular about the work you are doing, because we do magic. It's almost like we do magic in spite of all of those things. We're still third biggest, so imagine if we had the structure. So in terms of the work you're doing now, what is your hack? Because I think I read one of your interviews, I said it can be mathematical.
Yes.
Or methodical. There's like a formula for it.
Yes.
So A plus B equals to Blockbuster. What is the A plus B?
when you say some in terms of, when I say it can be mathematical, what I mean is that if you have a proper understanding of each discipline, because you have to understand that it's a medium. What I mean is a medium. It's like, for instance, if I wanted to tell a story with a picture, I need to understand how to paint. I need to understand what colors mean. I need to understand what blue does to emotionally and what red does, and what a Picasso, the reason why it looks, the reason why they painted the way they painted is because he has a clear understanding of this image, what's in the background, because he understands what the paintbrush does, what the back. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you understand what the camera is doing, you understand what sound is doing. And this is why it has helped me in that form. If I understand what sound is doing, understand what lighting is doing, if I know I have someone's face in shadow, I know what it does to an audience. If I know he reads the line in a particular way, I know what it does to an audience. If I know what sounds I'm employing in that scene, music-wise, whatever, I know that's what the person perceiving is going to feel. So, because our job is to evict emotion. Yeah. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you know these things, and what I advise people is, if you go and shoot something today, this one has helped. If you shoot something and it works, remember and write it down. This is what I did. If you know it doesn't work, remember and write it down that it doesn't work. So you know, and you start piecing together the exact tools to evict the emotion you need. So when you are writing a story or writing a scene, there are certain things that you would do to evict whatever emotion or whatever feeling or whatever you need to convey. So it becomes mathematical, because if you then employ, I need this scene to be aggressive. If you employ what makes a scene aggressive with lighting, writing, sound, editing, and the camera, then you will have an aggressive scene. Do you understand what I'm saying? But if you don't employ those things, it won't work. If I need it to be emotional, okay, I know this works for emotions, this works for emotion. And I play it across all disciplines, because like I said, it's a medium. It's a medium that I'm using to tell you a story. So if I do not understand the medium, I can't tell you exactly what I need to tell you.
Fantastic.
Do you understand?
Really, you should be the provost of a film academy.
With the durag, you look good.
In 1 minute, 60 seconds, tell us about your latest work.
Okay, so Suspicion is a crime thriller, a supernatural crime thriller. It's basically different from most of the stuff you've seen before. It stars RMD, Staninze, Omami Dada, Tina Mba, Uzo Arukwe, was Ashafat as well. It's an Amazon original. It's going to be released in November. I think the trailer is coming soon, and I'm hoping everybody's going to enjoy the film and, kind of see my style of filmmaking as well. If you liked Seven, you would love this film.
The incoming provost. Yes. You're working with your dad as well on something.
Yes, I'm working with my dad.
When is that coming out? How is it working with your dad?
I mean, you just say, I have the idea, then you wait and hope he says, I like it, or whatever the case. So yes, this will be working for a while. So right after this, I think we're going to get it. So the idea is that we're going to bring back one of his old shows called Kokoradon. Yes.
Amazing. We're looking forward to it already.
Definitely. Tosin, Igho, thank you so much for your time.
You guys,
and for the insights. Yes. I think that's been very enlightening, and I'm excited at what the future holds, if we all at least do this work together. Tosin Igho, movie producer, film producer, writer, sound designer, editor, camera handler, lighting, music producer, rapper, son of the legendary Peter Igho. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. What a day it has been, but we have to anchor at this point. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. Well, we couldn't get to the full conversation, but not to worry. It's all across our programming today. I'm Kayode Kikiolu.
And what a week it has been. Exciting, right? Who knows what the weekend holds, but all of the positives we'll be exploring for you right here at Channels Television. Speaking of the positives, Sunrise Daily is up next, so stay with Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.